Welcome back. So throughout the day, we're going to be talking a lot about technology and innovation in this space. And my next guest knows a ton about innovation and technology. So please put your hands together from Canapa Valley Farms, the CEO, Cliff Miller. Cliff. Thanks. Have a seat. How are you, my friend?
Very well. How are you?
I am excellent. So, for people in the room that might not know you, let's kind of do the hero origin story. Like, where did you come from, and how did you arrive at this chair?
Sure. I'm a Maine native. Just recently moved to Michigan, a wonderful little town called Plymouth, and we started a cannabis company in about 2015. I left a kind of a corporate job in fintech of all places, so I had a little technology background. And really started to explore kind of what cannabis looked like, how we could make innovative moves, reduce cost, the typical kind of how do you run a business type thing.
Yep.
Spent a couple years, trial and error. I think everybody in this room's probably done a little hand watering or a little extra effort on the weekends or getting it right and getting it wrong. And it took us a couple years of really kind of looking at cannabis as a whole very early on, and what pieces of technology that were already existing in the workplace could kind of help us in kind of an agricultural upstart space. So prior to that, I did, like I said, I did a bunch of corporate work. I've been in the real estate space since I was 18 years old. I was a licensed realtor 2 days after my birthday at 18 years old. So really enjoyed the group that was just speaking of real estate. A lot of that resonated with me as well. And I think kind of coming off that real estate kind of panel transitions into technology and kind of some of the automation innovation, because where do we put those pieces? And they have to be in really nice pieces of real estate.
And I'll get to that in a second, but I'm an intensely curious human being. So at 18, what's going through your mind that you need to get a real estate license?
I really wanted to just go make money.
Got it. Okay.
And I thought, what a great way to do that. I was still in college, so I was doing college and working with Century 21. After I did about 2 years of real estate, I moved into the mortgage market. I found it much easier as a 19 and 20-year-old to give people money than it was to get them to make a lifelong decision of buying a large-scale property. So to give money away was a lot easier than to get people to spend it. And then I spent probably 3 or 4 years. I was fortunate enough to spend my first part of my early 20s working up until about 2008. And I think we all remember what happened in 2008.
We do all remember.
I thought it was just me. I thought I was the only guy that had a tough time in 2008, 9, and 10. But I learned a couple really good lessons. Super humbling time in an early 20-year-old's life to go through that process. Thanks to the movie The Big Short, I realized it wasn't just me, that it was the entire world economy, so that made me feel a little bit better. And then after kind of the crash, I went to start working with a fintech company who did a lot of forensic underwriting for the big banks that had failed, and with some technology and kind of data warehousing and platform-based solutions, we kind of dug into what went wrong with 2008, 9, and kind of preceding up to that. And from there, I really just spent a lot of time developing platforms for some of the largest banks in our country, learning what they need, learning kind of how to navigate a need from a business person, a need from a developer, kind of tying a need with a business analyst who kind of explains the whole thing. So when coming into cannabis, I felt very much a business analyst. I was hearing, what does the consumer want? Better cannabis, higher grade products and strains, and then from the business side of things, how much does it cost? How do we get all of this without spending everything? How do we manage our funds? So I felt very much a business analyst as I came into this market, and really took what I learned from, or knew and didn't know, from two different worlds, and kind of put those pieces together.
And so let's talk about the Project Ambassador. It's this huge, amazing looking complex. Can you walk me through what's going on, how it started, and where we are today? Sure.
So we have the largest adult use cultivation center in Maine, and by chance we had a couple of just really great guys from the Detroit area come out and just kind of tour our facility. They heard what we were doing, they wanted to check it out, and we really just, it was an immediate bond. We really kind of hit it off day one, kind of courted each other. It was right around the holidays, so Christmas, hellos and Thanksgiving highs and stuff like that. And then after, I would say, after January, after we got through the holidays, we really started to pick up steam in our discussions about what was being done in Vassar. We had yet to see the site, seen some pictures of it. So we made some travel plans and flew out to Detroit and drove up to Vassar and laid eyes on just one of the largest kind of facilities that I'd seen to date that could be done with cannabis. A lot of work had to be done. There were some old buildings we wanted to take down. We wanted to keep some. It was an old foundry that was literally leading technology in 1920. So 100 years later in 2020, right before the pandemic, we're out here walking around this big, beautiful site, kind of hearing about what it had done, what it had brought to the community. And then we really just sat down in the office that was there and said, what could we do here? And we dug into what really could be done there. Took a lot of planning. We're very methodical in how we move and how we don't like to be reactive, very proactive. So we thought through everything, and we did a lot of this during the pandemic. I remember talking with one of my partners, and it was March of 2020, and we were kind of debating what to do, should we wait, should we not, and we made the decision as a team that no, we are going to build the most technologically advanced cannabis facility in the country through the pandemic. Thick or thin, we're going for it. And we did. We're a few weeks away from licensing, being complete. The buildings are just absolutely phenomenal. And we were able to take a lot of lessons learned that we've done this 3 or 4 times in Maine, this type of structure and extraction facility. So we had all these lessons learned and kind of successes and failures that we had seen in Maine, and we just put all of our efforts into Vassar and what we're building up there.
And you said this talk was like a nice jumping off point from the real estate. And what I found interesting, when you look into this story, is that Vassar was excited about it. They were very excited to do this.
The town of Vassar, I mean, I would almost consider them like a third-party partner almost, just because they've been so supportive, so helpful. We had a groundbreaking ceremony which is March 23rd. Their mayor actually had a proclamation that forever, now until then, Vassar it will forever be known as Kanapa Valley Farms Day in Vassar on March 23rd. So they did a wonderful proclamation, so we have our own wonderful kind of day there. They're overly helpful whenever we need to navigate any questions, concerns, and they've actually been a really great voice piece for us, where they've invited other towns that are kind of on the tipping point of, do we want to do this, do we not want to do this? Hey, come check it out, come see how it's done right. We'll show you the guys that are really putting it together the way we as a township like.
Is there something you can extract, pun intended, you can extract from that so that others can learn from how to make that symbiotic relationship, so that the mayor is making proclamations about your business?
Humility goes a long way. We went into it with a very grounded plan. We were very concise and clear in what we wanted to do. It wasn't a lot of smoke and mirrors. We went into it eyes wide open. We knew what we wanted to do, how to do it. We were able to share some of the successes that we'd seen in Maine. So it wasn't just I think we can, it's we're going to do this again. And I think that speaks a lot to a township that's going to get behind you. Is this going to be a halfway project? Will it get 3/4 of the way project? And they were just really, really excited to see that we're a self-funded group. We're not a big money group. We're doing this all on our own. We've done it before, and we talked it out with them every step of the way. We had an idea, we'd run it by them. They had questions or concerns, they'd run it by us. And it wasn't just the town kind of council, it was with the fire chief, the local police office. It was the entire group within the Vassar community.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So let's talk about the technology. What is on this site, and what is the cutting edge stuff that you guys are bringing to the market?
Sure. So again, being able to do this 2, 3, 4 times now, we're not really building a 1.0, and to put it in tech terms, this is really a 3.0 for us. Because we've had some successes in Maine with what we've built, we literally put the best of the best that we couldn't put in here. A lot of cultivation centers are big, huge cultivation heavy groups. That's where a lot of the people are, the big spaces, and a lot of the square footage is made up. And when you get into these spaces, you start thinking about how many steps a day are people going to take to go from one end to the end. A lot of people are 3-4 miles a day of just walking to get from one bay to the next room, back to the bathroom, back to the break room, wherever they're going. There's miles of steps in a day. So one of the first things we did after we had a really well laid out plan was we developed a rail system, an automatic rail system. So imagine if you would, just a row of grow rooms, and you're almost a mile long. We have a central hub, or our head house, where everything is done, all the fertigation, irrigation, dry rooms, everything that you could think of. So we can go on a computer or an iPad and say, call table 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and opens the bay doors open, shuttle goes and picks up table 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and brings it directly to the gentleman sitting in front of the dry room. So the harvest team and those that would be kind of cutting it down in the bay, putting it in bins, walking it down, putting it on a golf cart, however it may be. You've got a stationary group of people that are literally using technology to just call a robotic arm that's going to go all the way down, pick up every table you want, bring it back, set it in front of the team, let them harvest it. We have a robotic arm that'll pick it up, wash the entire table down, set it off to the side, and stack it appropriately. So we wanted to keep the people safe. Again, more steps, more hazards, more people in there. You can bump, maneuver around people. You have rolling tables that are kind of tight. So the best way to do that is to let a robot who doesn't feel pain grab it and bring it to those people. That was a big piece. The environmental controls were extremely important to us as well. Not only are we kind of correcting the external factors, the wind outside, temperatures outside, but we have some unique features within the building where we can kind of course correct any hazards that may be outside. If it's muggy and ugly outside, we can bring in that air, kind of condition it, and then bring it into a really healthy room with conditioned fresh air. And knowing to be proactive instead of reactive. A lot of people have the sensors in their pots and they're kind of always reactive in what the plant is doing. We have a wonderful system where we can be more proactive, and we'll know real time if a plant is too dry, if a drip emitter is clogged up, and it doesn't go on for a day or two and you start to see some of the browning of leaves or anything like that. So almost, I wouldn't call it AI, but as close as you could almost get to really understanding the environmentals was a big piece for us as well.
This is the automation that Harry was just talking about, right? Like, make sure they get in there. But one of the things that I find interesting about your story is we just listened to you talk about from 18 years old to you're 23 now, and over those 5 years, you did all of this stuff, but nowhere in there did I see you get a robotics degree from Harvard. So like, where does the innovation part in the brand come from? Unless there is a degree in there that I missed when you were talking.
No, not in robotics. And again, I'm only one person of an amazing
Of course,
team.
But like as a culture, like where did that innovation come from?
It was completely team-based. It was a lot of discussion. We have a phenomenal team of individuals that have been cultivating for 10, 15, 20 years. So when you think about all their needs and wants, you immediately go to big ag, because this isn't new technology for the world, this is new technology for cannabis. So we went out to some of the biggest agricultural groups in the world and said, hey, how are you running your 40-acre greenhouse efficiently? Had meetings with those groups, and they showed us some of the things that worked really well for the last 50 years in big ag. And we said, let's adopt those principles and that technology to large-scale cannabis. Again, it was kind of complete redesign because some of those things are perpetual and they're not on schedules. But I would give most of that credit to the team of cultivators and minds that we have sitting here and at home, because they're the ones that really brought these kind of technologies to me. We evaluated as a team, and then we were able to kind of disseminate what would work well, what wouldn't work well, and who we could work well with. Some of the big groups overseas, I mean, they'll send you whatever you want, but there's not a lot of support there. So that was a big piece for us. The robotics, that one was just a fun one. We knew where that was going to be. We knew that having people lift tables every day, scrub them down, do that whole kind of process was labor intensive. It was messy. It created a space that a huge space that was almost wasted space just to clean. So through referrals of some of our groups overseas, they said, hey, what do you think about this robotic arm? It can do this, it can do that. And we said, let's go with it. This sounds like a great solution. And then some of the other pieces we were LED all the way, so that was a big piece of our kind of concept, was to stay forward thinking, so we're not up there replacing lights every 6 months or every few harvests. So, and it's the same lighting company we used in Maine, phenomenal group, local to New England, so we're really familiar with them. Right out of Rhode Island, great group called TSR. The customer service there is phenomenal, and they've been a great help in sharing what they've learned in the industry, what they're seeing overseas, what they're seeing in other big ags, and say, hey, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? So the network, as well as our team here in Michigan, has really just brought all of these wonderful concepts and ideas that we've vetted and then put into application.
So as you're building a team, you know, what learnings can you share with this group about finding a team and putting a team together that you get that diversity of thought, that you can have people that are like, hey, what if we go check out the corn guys and see what they're doing? And what if we go visit these guys and see what they're doing and figure out how we can use that brute thinking to do something here? Yeah,
all options were always on the table. We were a very open-minded group. We come from so many different backgrounds, our team does. We are very cannabis heavy in terms of operations, but the executive team comes from a real estate background. Some of them are corporate real estate, some are entrepreneurial. So in our lives, we've always been taught to never really be closed-minded. So we wanted to listen to everybody on the team, whether you're coming on as a trimmer or whether you're coming on as an executive. If you have any insight that might be valuable or we could use in our thought process, share that. Also be prepared to defend it. A good idea is a good idea, but let's share why that's a good idea. Let's vet why. Show us the group that we could use. Tell us how it works. Show us the video in which there was a video of it working and operating, and can that adapt to what we're doing? So always open-mindedness. We're open door policy with everybody, so there's no one person that's higher than the next in terms of communication. We were really able to really just get everybody's input as a team, and that brings camaraderie amongst the team. We have one of the strongest groups I've ever worked with in corporate America, entrepreneurial and cannabis. I couldn't say more about the team we have.
One more question on that, though. Like, any tips to flattening that hierarchy, right? Because typically you'll hear a lot of businesses say that. We've got an open door policy. All ideas are great ideas. Come on in and tell us. And then they do none of it, right? And so you create that, you foster that culture where I'm not going to tell you because you're going to listen, and then you're going to go back to work, right?
Right. There's a time and place for everything. So every single Monday morning, we have a Monday morning at Canapa Valley Farm where everybody gets on a call, whether they're in Maine, on vacation, in Michigan, in Vassar, in Plymouth, where our kind of corporate offices. And everybody gets a chance to kind of explain what they're thinking. Everybody on the team that's here today, or that has kind of started this with us, has a voice at that meeting. At the end of that meeting, we will then go back to our regularly scheduled tasks and responsibilities. So we want to hear what some of these people, if you're seeing a process that could be done better in the trim or packaging area, let us know. I mean, there might be something that you're seeing and feeling and touching every day that we haven't thought of. Bring us a solution, bring us the idea. We'll spend the week thinking about it, put it on an actionable item list, and let's dig into how we can make that better for this entire team. Typically, the people that are doing the work will give you the best insight on how to do it better and faster.
Awesome. We got like about a minute left, so the last question is like, do you have anything else that you want to share with this group? Because I know that you guys kind of came here to kind of
this again, we've heard the Michigan market loud and clear in terms of what they want from a cannabis perspective. And Michigan is a very cannabis connoisseur group. They know what they want. They know they're strain specific. And we recently just signed a deal with Exotic Genetics to be the first group in Michigan, the exclusive group to bring exotic genetics to Michigan.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Very wildly popular group. that's something that we've listened for 2 years about what Michigan wants in terms of cannabis. They want new, fresh strains. They want high THC content, and this is going to be a way where we can foster that literally right out of the gate.
Awesome. And if you guys want to learn more about that, their booth is right over there. They would love to talk to you about that, and you've got a chance to win some Detroit Pistons tickets. And at this point, my friend, thank you so much for the time.
Appreciate it.
It was a pleasure to talk to you. One more time for Cliff. Thank you, sir. All right, friends, we'll take another refreshment break, take about 10 minutes, and we'll see you guys back here.